cause.
Yeah. Their money to fix. I didn't walk in at that place. I walked in early. They were coming out. Some boys staying. Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We had some news today, and I just want to thank Dr. Maher again for all you have done and the position you've put us in. And we as a board are just so thankful for the service and the dedication you and PEG have had to the school district. So thank you. Thank you. Moving on, approval of the minutes, meetings held November 25th and December 4th. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
A motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any persons wishing to address the board, Bev? I didn't see anybody. And also board member Baker had emailed me earlier this evening. She was not feeling well, so she is unable to attend. Moving on to approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Good news report, Deanne.
Well, good evening. As a parent, your calendar is probably filled up this time of year with concerts and special events for the holiday performances that our students do around the end of first semester. Tonight, we have the rare opportunity for a private performance, if you will, by one of Sioux Falls' most highly acclaimed student musicians. Emmanuel Michael of Washington High School has been wowing people here in Sioux Falls for the past several years since he picked up a guitar, but the rest of the world has obviously taken notice as well. You may recall that in February of this year, Emmanuel was invited to play with the Thelonious Monk Institute of Jazz peer-to-peer jazz education tour. So that's an honor that's typically bestowed on students who attend performing arts schools. Well, Emmanuel obviously is at our Washington High School and got the eye of the folks in that organization. Last week then, Emmanuel learned he's been invited to join the top student musicians in the country through the National Young Arts Foundation. He's been named a 2020 Young Arts winner. That invitation gives him access to one of the most prestigious programs for emerging artists in the United States. They have a variety of opportunities for creative and professional development through their entire musical career. Emmanuel is invited to participate in an intensive week-long and all-inclusive program at National Young Arts Week. He's eligible to be nominated as a U.S. Presidential Scholar in the Arts, one of the highest honors given to any high school senior by the President of the United States. In addition to cash and prizes, he's also eligible for fellowships, symposia, and musical residencies at major institutions such as the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C., Sotheby's in New York, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and more. So his list of future possibilities is getting more and more lengthy along the way. So we've invited Emmanuel, who I understand is a very humble young man, to come forward, say a word or two, and then play just a little bit for us this evening. So, Emmanuel.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel Michael. I'm a senior at Washington High School, and I'd like to thank the board for having me here today. I found out that I was a finalist for Young Arts, and Young Arts is basically a foundation that endorses arts among young people. So the week-long intensive not only includes the jazz combo that I'll be a part of, but other young people being involved in whatever arts that they flourish in, such as photography, animation, dance, classical music, and tons of other art programs. And this is very exciting for me because Young Arts gives out scholarships too, ranging from $2,000 to $10,000, so that'll help me out in the future. And speaking about the present now, I'd like to thank a couple people, my mom and my parents. My mom's here with me, always dealing with me and my noises. And I'd like to thank another program that I was a part of this summer. I had made the cut for a group called NYO Jazz. NYO Jazz is sponsored by Carnegie Hall, and what it details is you and 23 other young jazz musicians from all across the country gather in New York, and you rehearse for 2 weeks, and 2 weeks after the rehearsal period, you tour the world. And what my iteration of NYO Jazz got to tour the world with Grammy Award-winning singer Kurt Elling and world-renowned trumpet player named Sean Jones. And we played at Carnegie Hall, and we toured Asia. The first week was in Taiwan, and we went to 5 places. And then the second week of tour was in China, and we went to 4 places too. So I'd like to thank that organization too. I'll play for you a piece called Peace. It's by Horace Silver.
I would buy that record right there. That was It sounded like you had several instruments or several people over there playing. That was very, very well done. How long have you been playing?
In October, about 4 years.
Oh, 4 years. Awesome.
Who's your influence?
Who's my influence? A lot of people. Just everywhere. I don't listen to, well, I listen to his outfit, but I didn't listen to genres. Just everyone other than the childhood. Just, yeah, just like, how to say, less annoying to listen to guitar.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Really enjoyable.
Thank you. Thank you,
Now I'm
Manuel.
ready for a meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now the boring part.
Yeah.
Thank you, Emmanuel, and thank you, his mother, for sharing him with us. Moving on, no new conflicts of interest presented to the board. Approval of consent agenda items 8A through F. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to the supplemental consent agenda, item 9A, claims to Sanford Health. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries with 2 abstentions, Board Member Ryder and Board Member Mickelson. Now 10, reports of the superintendent.
All right, well, our first report tonight is a report on junior kindergarten. Here to give that report is Dr. Boyson.
Thank you. And as I'm giving my report, we have some glimpses of junior kindergarten for you to look at. We had Ben go out and shoot some videos, and he's working on a promo commercial for junior kindergarten. So, okay, so you can enjoy that. So junior kindergarten, the purpose of the report is to give you an update on that pilot that we started at Susan B. Anthony and Harvey Dunn during this 2019-2020 school year. It follows District Priority Area 1 on student outcomes, providing a rigorous, effective, engaging curriculum and instruction for all students, emphasizing growth and reducing that achievement gap. And that's really what we're looking at with that junior kindergarten, giving opportunities for students. The Sioux Falls District is committed to finding creative ways to reduce that gap, and during the fall of 2019, we started junior kindergarten at 2 elementaries for any student who was 5 by September 1st. The junior kindergarten curriculum focuses on immersing learners in rich oral language, literacy, and numeracy skills. The students spend their day exploring learning through creative play, small and large motor activities, handwriting, and strengthening their ability to express their emotions in a safe and supportive learning environment. Junior kindergarten is connected to the K-5 curriculum to create a smooth transition to kindergarten, both socially and academically. The junior kindergarten pilot explored 2 models. Model 1 was a half-day program at Harvey Dunn, and that Model 2 was a half-day program with extended care through a Junior Kids Inc. program at Susan B. Anthony, allowing students to be there from 8 to 2:45. Harvey Dunn has currently 18 students enrolled, while Susan B. Anthony has 34 students in the junior kindergarten program, and 23 of the 34 at Susan B. Anthony attend that Junior Kids Inc. extended care program. Registration for junior kindergarten for next year will open February 1st, and that's when we open our registration for kindergarten also. So it opens at that same time, that online registration process. Families interested in enrolling can contact Harvey Dunn or Susan B. Anthony for more information. And the students that that are interested in junior kindergarten can attend our kindergarten registration night on March 26th. And that's at all elementaries, but the junior kindergarten will be just at Susan B. Anthony and Harvey Dunn. So during that pilot, we explored 2 different models, the half day at Harvey Dunn and the full day at Susan B. Anthony, and that includes an extended care option for families. Students who complete junior kindergarten will go on to kindergarten next fall, and we'll really watch those students as they progress into that program to gain feedback from the teachers and the families. But the Sioux Falls districts continue to look at expansion of that junior kindergarten program, and we'll look at that later in the spring and look at availability and the interest that's out there. And we'll bring that information back to you later this spring. And I stand by for any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Wilson?
No, I just think as we continue to talk about the importance of our youngest learners and, you know, with the absence of a preschool availability for everybody, that this is just another great step for students and their readiness. So like you said, it'll be interesting to watch how they progress the next few years through those early years of elementary school and what their test scores or what their proficiency in reading and math look like in comparison to, just like we compare for the summer, or we compare the summer climb and those students, how can we compare and see what the impact of this program has been on them? I can't imagine that it wouldn't have a huge impact on giving them a leg up.
And really looking at another opportunity for kids. Everyone will go to kindergarten. It's just when they're ready at the right time. And social, emotional, you know, how do they respond to things? It just gives them that much more practice in those situations.
Less frustration for them and teachers if they're prepared for their time.
If they're ready. Mm-hmm. So everyone will go to kindergarten. That's what we like to say. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you have a motion to accept the report?
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, our next report is a report on the boundary process. You saw this in depth on Wednesday at a work session, and here to do a little more of an overview of that process is Doug Morrison.
Good evening, Board. As Dr. Maher said, we had sort of an in-depth session last Wednesday, work session, so the purpose of this report will bring it forward and formally adopt the process that we have outlined here. So I'll take you through, again, some of the same information, probably a little bit more on a summarized basis. Start with the timeline around the boundary planning process. Really at this point, a lot of the background work that's going on really started in July, and this will kind of culminate in December, but things like some background work to create some boundary scenarios that we can get the task force started with. Talking about ramping up programming strategy. We have specialized schools and things of that nature that we need to consider when we're planning. Conduct some small friendly focus groups. So we've met with some former board members and former people that were in the district the last time we did boundaries to establish some guidelines to give to the task force, assemble a boundary committee, and lastly under there would be to hire a facilitator. And I'll cover some of those in more detail here momentarily. January through March is the period of time where we will assemble the boundary committee, and they will have, as of now, we have 3 meetings scheduled for them, and then also conduct 5 public feedback sessions that will occur over a period of time, and I'll cover those exact specific dates momentarily as well. April of 2020 would be an initial recommendation at that point that would go to the board for consideration. And then really from that point, from May and through June, really gives the board a chance to study those scenarios that were recommended by the task force, and then went to the public for feedback, and then taking that feedback and looking at you know, any resulting scenarios that came out of that, things that you want to look at. So it really gives you a couple months to study it in great detail and ask the questions that you want to ask regarding the process. And then in June of 2020 would be to finalize the new boundaries, programming and ramp-up strategy, and then towards the end of June to vote on those boundary guidelines. July through December of 2020, we would spend a lot of time educating the community, the parents, on what this means to them on an individual basis. And then December 2020 would be the next open enrollment period. And so depending on how people came out in the assigned boundary process, they might want to go through some open enrollment scenario. And so that will lead up to that. And then August of 2021, the new middle school and new high school would be live opening. Cover a little bit on the task force or boundary committee. We opened up applications for that in the month of November. We had a great response, 161 applicants. And if you recall at the work session, we had the big map in here with all the pins in it. So we had very good representation across the district of parents and community members that wanted to participate on the task force. We really went through a random selection process other than a few positions that we held open for a couple former school board members, people from the city that we needed expertise in. And so, but well over 20 of them, 25 or so were randomly selected from that population, and we ended up with a very good dispersion of applicants or task force members. Today, we notified everybody, and so glad to show you here is our boundary task force members. So, like I said, everyone has been notified. They will be participating in the meetings and helping us to put some boundary scenarios together for you as a board. So we think we've got a great slate of task members that represent not only geographically, but other just representation of the community. So we're excited to get that up and going. One of the things that will happen is with the boundary committee being formed is the board of education. You will need to give the task member a charge as far as what you want them to accomplish. And we went through this at the work session on Wednesday. But basically their charge will be to develop some recommendations on the new middle and high school boundaries to hand off to you or to bring forward to the community input sessions. And then also to give you some guidance as far as transitional things. Should seniors be grandfathered in? Should juniors? Should sophomores? What happens with siblings? All those types of things. Those are important to families. And so they will be also providing some guidance on that. And then the assumptions, of course, that the Thomas Jefferson High School opening in the fall of 2021, as well as Ben Rifle Middle School. And then finally, that elementary school boundaries are not really part of the charge of this task force. We don't envision those as part of the process and changing to a great extent through this. Some guiding principles that we went through at the work session as well. There's just certain things that we want to have the task force when they're looking at boundaries and how to shape them, some guiding principles. These are things that have guided us as a district well over the years. And so you can see under priority 1, which is quality education for all students, things like trying to balance our economic status across the schools. So try to get our schools to be as representative of the community as possible, each and every one of them. And so that's a guiding principle, also equitable space, things of that nature. And so priority 2, student safety and well-being, that's always a concern of ours. So looking at safe walking routes, busing routes, things like that. Priority 3, budget considerations, we always have to keep those in mind. So when we're looking at that, and we'll ask them to be mindful of those as well. Priority 4, where we can, looking at natural borders as school boundary lines. So things like interstates, rivers, things of that nature, to the extent we can make those as natural boundaries, we will try to do that. And then priority 5, accommodate for growth and change. So it may be that one school looks a little smaller in 2021 because we know there's going to be significant growth that happens in a certain area. So we'll be looking at those types of things as well. One of the things that served us well in the bond referendum process was to hire a facilitator, not only a facilitator for the task force, but also the community input sessions. And so we had great success with the Donovan group and Joe Donovan. And so we went to Joe, and he was excited about coming back and helping us with the boundary process. It provides continuity. But it will also allow you all to sit back and go to whether it's the boundary meetings or the task force sessions, to sort of sit back and just take in, make notes, things of that, because you're not up there trying to facilitate things. And so Joe will be a collector of information, trying to look for common themes and reporting it out to you. He's really a resource for you guys to help gather information from those types of places. So we're excited about that. The task force meetings, as we see them now, we have 3 that we've asked people to specifically put on their calendars. So the first one will be January 20th at IPC here from 5:30 to 7:30. And there'll be a second one on the 29th, and then again on February 19th. We're hoping we can do it all in 3 meetings. If we can't, we'll look to add a 4th one if that's what's required. We don't want to shortchange the process. We want to make sure that a good product is handed off to the community and to you guys, and that they don't feel rushed. As far as the meeting structure, kind of haven't formalized this, but giving some thoughts around it. Meeting 1, things like welcome, introductions, charge from you guys to the committee, give them some general background, and then really jump into the middle school boundaries, and to have them start to look at some options that the district has come up with, things that they want to look at, changes they want to make. And so and then at that point, we will take direction from that first meeting, and then we'll come back in the second meeting, revisit any follow-ups from regarding the middle school boundary alternatives, and then we'll go into high school. And then we'll do the same process. We'll discuss any different scenarios that either have been presented to them or things that they want to see. And then we'll come back into meeting 3, try to wrap that up, and then we'll have some discussions around transition of students, and and so give you guys some feedback on that. So that's kind of the general structure of the meetings as we see it. After the community, after the boundary task force meets, really what will come out of that is a set of proposed or viable options as far as middle school boundary options and high school options, and we will make those known to the public, and that's really what they'll be coming down to comment on, either any of those scenarios that the task force has recommended, or anything that's on their mind about things that they want to have considered through the whole process. So we've got 5 of those scheduled, 1 at each middle school. And so Joe will be facilitating those. We have 5:30 to 6:30 on those. I would venture to say they're probably going to go more than an hour, would be my guess, because this is a wide reaching impact. But our goal will be to make sure that everybody is heard through these sessions. So additionally, as far as feedback, we want to make sure we hear from as many people as we can. So we have a tool called Let's Talk. It's basically it will allow the community to contact us online through an online format, through the website. They'll be able to find that, and they can ask us questions about the boundary process at any time. That will allow us to not only log them, make sure they're responded to, because we can track when we got them, when we responded, but it'll also allow us to put the questions into various themes. So if we see things that are emerging out of questions that a lot of people have, we can create FAQs or whatever we can to begin to get answers to people, because a lot of them have questions around that. So that's something we're excited about. It's to be able to use through this process as well. So with that, the recommendation would be to approve the process and timeline for establishing new school boundaries to go into effect with the 21-22 school year. And with that, I will stand by for questions.
This might be the wrong time to ask this, but is there any thought of doing a Saturday or an afternoon public input session just for those that work and can't make it at those times? Or is
I would say we're open to that. We can certainly look at that. I mean, our goal really is to get as much feedback as we can, which was the 5 sessions. But you're right, if everyone works some hours on weeknights, that would be a good alternative, maybe to have a Saturday session or something like that. So Deanne and Joe and I can certainly look at adding something like that. That's a great idea.
okay? Thanks.
Yeah, because last year, when we did the bond, we had a weather change, I think, and so we had one here during the day, and it actually was quite well attended. So maybe one alternative time frame would be good.
It's a little hard to gauge, you know, till you get to your first one and you see either I have a room of, you know, who knows how many people. They'll be well attended, I can guarantee that. We want to make sure we get to everybody. And that's why, you know, things like Let's Talk, not everyone likes to get up in a meeting and ask a question, but they'll be able to go there and ask their question and get it responded to. And then, you know, we're counting on Joe to be able to facilitate those meetings and to be able to make sure that everything's covered and that people are, you know, that we're moving along briskly, but catching everything we need to as far as common themes. But that's a great idea.
And once we approve this recommendation, all this dates and the task force committee members will be on our district website.
Yep, we have a website, just like we had with the bond referendum. We'll, you know, this whole process will be very transparent. So there'll be these types of materials, dates, there'll be minutes from whatever meetings that were held. And so hopefully, you know, it'll be a very transparent process where people can find what they need. And if they can't for some reason, they'll be able to contact us and we'll make sure that it's available. Because if one person's asking, it's probably more that needed as well. So, yep.
And after the initial report recommendations are made to the board, all of our board information's on the website for the public if they have questions to reach out to us as well. So
yeah,
please do.
It's a lot to go into it, and that's why we want to make sure that you guys have a lot of time to take the input that you guys want to have, because I know you'll have a lot of people that will be calling you individually and things of that nature, and that's fine. But, you know, it's just a process we have to allow it a lot of time for, because it's, you know, the importance of it. So.
Thanks for all your work and your team's work on that.
Well, it's a great team behind the scenes that have made a lot of the stuff happen, and tools that we'll have that we'll be able to, whatever scenarios we have come up, there'll be tools on the website that will allow people to put their address in, and for any option that's out there, they'll be able to find out exactly where they fall under that, and they'll be able to see all of that very transparent process. So it won't be one map in somebody's office. It'll be out there. And so proud of the team that is sort of working behind the scenes from Ryan's group and Nicole here and some other tool called Tableau that we've been using. It's sort of been a sandbox for us to be able to create different scenarios. And that'll help us in the task force meetings if they want to be able to see a scenario. Can't say we can do something in 5 minutes, but we can do something pretty quickly to answer questions or to bring it to the next follow-up meeting. So, so happy that things that we're doing internally to the district through our expertise that normally you would go out and hire a consultant for tens of thousands of dollars. And so we're able to have that expertise in-house here. So good, really good stuff.
And I commend the name I was really hoping would be on there was Sam Trapillicock from the city, Sam Transportation, because with busing and so forth, especially at high school age, it's such an important issue for our students and some of our families, so that we make sure we're not overseeing something that we might miss when we are devising our plan here. So, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation to the school board for the boundary process?
Oops, so moved.
Sorry. Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Our next report is actually a public hearing. It's a plan of intent for certification waivers. Here to present on that topic is our Senior Director for Human Resources, Becky Dorman.
Good evening. Thank you. I am here this evening in the public hearing format to request waivers from administrative rules concerning our plans of intent. As a review, a plan of intent is an agreement that the district makes with the teacher and the Department of Ed on how the teacher is going to reach full certification. The teachers that are involved with plans of intents are honor evaluation system. Most oftentimes they come to us from other states, and their certification in their state doesn't match up with ours, so they have an additional praxis test to take. Or maybe they come from another country, same situation, they have a praxis test to take. Or it could also be a veteran teacher that's helping us out, and maybe they're picking up one random class of personal finance that we didn't have anybody to fill. So that's outside of their certification area, and so they're going to take a test to become certified. This year, we have 5 individuals that didn't meet the timeline, and that's actually what we're waiving, is that 2-year timeline to get those plans of intents done, and these for various reasons. And they were in the areas of special education, and then special education, someone needing additional certification in the area of social sciences, journalism, and then elementary education within Spanish immersion were the 5 areas that we're requesting a waiver of the 2-year timeline. Granting this waiver would give them 1 additional year to complete the requirements. I have in the executive summary just a small history of where we've been with plan of intents. In the past 5 years, we've ranged from needing 75 plan of intents to this year is our highest number at 135 plans of intent. And in examining those plans of intent, we recognize that that's due to some changes at the state level in the certifications required in special education to teach in core content areas. So that's requiring some more praxis tests for our special education teachers. The district supports our teachers on plans of intent by making sure if this is an area outside their subject area that they're getting the proper instructional coaching, mentoring that they need, evaluation systems, and then also the Human Resources Department funds their praxis tests, and if they need some study guides or studying assistance, we would fund that as well. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Becky, for all your work on this. I know it's additional work for you, but working with the state and making sure our teachers, we have good teachers, and sometimes they just need some time to get to the right certification. So we would still want them to be employed here at the district. So we appreciate that work.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we need to open the hearing. Is there any public comment? Anybody sign up? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Do I have a motion to approve the administrative recommendation to the school board?
So moved. Second.
A motion and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Becky.
I'll
Okay.
make a motion to move into executive session 1-25-21.
Second.
I have a motion second. All those in favor into moving into executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we're doing one, yeah. That's for the Lennox land.
Oh, the
Just
Lennox
what we
land.
just did. In the.
Yeah, I want to move. I want to move right in.
Yep. It's just updated. So this is Lennox is voting on it tonight. So it should be able to go to the Department of Ed for 60 days and it comes back. That's the method.
I don't know who's it. It was South Dakota.